Welcome to a breaking news Tuesday afternoon with Anglican Unscripted. This is episode 129. George and I have some interesting Roman Catholic news to bring to you. I'm Kevin Carlson.
And I'm George Conger. Today is October 14th, 2014.
Now, if we're going to talk about Roman Catholic news, as we teased in the teaser, obviously we just had the Foley Beach installation, and people are going to say, obviously, the breaking news is the Pope sent greetings to Foley Beach and accepts him as an ecumenical partner in this thing we call Christianity. Yeah, that's breaking news. That's cool. And but we have more stuff that we want to talk about more in depth. Hopefully we can get 5-7 minutes out. George said, hey, we got to talk about it. We're going to talk about it because George knows what's to talk about. So we were at the installation, and Archbishop Venables gets up and says, my buddy Francis called, and he wants me to pass on his greetings, love, prayer, support for the new Archbishop of the ACNA Foley Beach. And he goes on to explain that he knows that this Pope is a Bible-believing Pope. He's a Christian by all accounts. He's not like other popes, that type of thing. And, George and I have heard about this, but when you watch the Pope in the news, according to the news, if he talks to a liberal, he's a liberal. If he talks to a conservative, he's a conservative. If he talks to an agnostic, he's agnostic. He's become all things to all men type Pope. And that leaves George and I, the polity professors here, in a lurch as to who is the Pope. And, I trust Greg Venables in his understanding of the Pope because I trust him in his understanding of Catherine Jefferts Schori. So let's develop the story further because there's news this week on what's happening with a Synod 14 in Rome.
Kevin, Greg Venables has many charisms, and one of them is a gift of discernment, I believe. And he said, Jorge Bergoglio, Pope Francis, from his personal interaction with the man over the years in Buenos Aires, is a born-again, Bible-believing Christian. That's an evangelical talking about somebody. These aren't just trite phrases. This is how Greg Venables describes the person of the current Pope. Mm-hmm. Now, you and I will read in the newspapers, well, where's this guy going? And it's finally hit me. This Pope is so darn clever. He's a great Jesuit, I have to tell you. Because what we see happening in Rome today at the Synod on the Family is an example of the Pope's cleverness and his holiness of character. Well, what's going on, Kevin?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, they're having a Synod and they want to decide how they can better minister to the family. A laudable goal. And, us press people watch all the reports coming out. We read the blogs, we watch the news, and, once in a while we catch the New York Times just for fun. And the New York Times puts out that the church, known as the Roman Catholic Church, has decided to go liberal, that they're going to start accepting homosexual sexual practice, that they're going to have people who were divorced have communion again, and basically...
abortions no longer sin, contraceptions okay.
Yeah. It's bishops gone wild, okay?
That's the Episcopal Church.
Yes, and so it's like a Vatican III. And so all is going crazy, and then all of a sudden we get a breaking press release from LifeSiteNews that a certain cardinal says, don't believe what you're reading.
Cardinal Burke, an American cardinal and a very highly placed member of this synod meeting, and a number of other leading cardinals, George Pell of Sydney, the leader of the Polish Episcopal Conference, have basically said, what is going on here? Because what happened on Monday was a midpoint document was released. It wasn't a statement, it wasn't a conclusion, it was just a secretary's summary of the events so far, what the discussions were taking place, because all of this is behind closed doors. And one of the secretaries, who is, if you will, politically biased, added into this document all this stuff about rethinking homosexuality, abortion, contraception, divorce, and remarriage. And Cardinal Burke and Cardinal Pell and others are saying, wait a second, that's not what we talked about.
Well,
Kevin, this has happened before.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember this happened in Lambeth, 98, where a whole bunch of Australians got really mad when a certain biased person lost the original report.
Lambeth, 1998, the group that talked about human sexuality, it was also a closed-door meeting, and they had a bishop who was their secretary. He was a white South African liberal. Mm-hmm. And they came up with their statement. And they asked it to be typed, and I was the typist. And it was given back and taken over to the secretariat, printed up, and the members of this group, led by the Australian, said, hey, wait, this is not what we talked about. And the South African bishop was confronted, and he said, well, I lost the piece of paper, so I had to reconstruct it from my own memory. And somehow or another, his memory didn't exactly jive with what the archbishops and bishops in that conference said. So there was the fix was in.
Yeah.
Nobody believed the South African. Everybody thought it was deliberate, and a new statement was handed to me to type. And we have Lambeth 1.10. Same sort of thing. The secretary bishop in that group was a liberal, was appointed by the Pope, came out and showed his true colors, that the ideology of the progressive gay movement is more important than fidelity to Catholic truth and teaching. Now, you remember early on, Pope Francis said we had to do something about this gay mafia at the Vatican?
Yep, he talked about the gay mafia.
He appointed some members that people whisper about as being members of this gay mafia to key positions. Well, these guys decided to take their chance and turn the course of the church, and now they've hung themselves out to dry because the leading cardinals in this meeting are saying, hey, we did not talk about this.
It'll be interesting because sadly the press is going to be sympathetic to the liberals. So as much as these guys have hung themselves out to dry, the press, when they figure out the truth, is just going to wash over the story. But you learn the truth here from us.
This is an unfolding story. It's why it's breaking. Mm-hmm. I mean, Cardinal Burke said, we need the Pope to stand up and say, here's what Catholic teaching is, because what's being handed out by this meeting is certainly not Catholic teaching. Mm-hmm. It may very well be that this is how Francis is going to introduce change. But if we believe Greg Venables, that this is a born-again, Bible-believing Christian, how do you square the two?
No.
So maybe the man's just a very clever Jesuit and is working to basically clean house by having the liberals hang themselves.
Well, let's hope that God's will for the Roman Catholic Church is done. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Anglican Unscripted. You're watching episode 129, I think. It doesn't really matter. You've watched them all. You love us. Hi, Susan. There's a good outtake.
Hello, Susan. How are you?
I can't walk through.
No, because we're filming.
It's nice. You have a professional makeup artist who's a trained lawyer do this, and I have nobody.
Who argues with me. You're not arguing, not at all.
That's all right. She's adding paste to a pasty face. That's cool.
You look like a tomato. A moon with
what do you mean a tomato?
cheeks. Have you been out in the sun? No. Is Kevin gonna get you to wear your boot?